Alright. Live here. Hello. Ooh. And welcome to another movie chat here. Decided to do Star Trek Timelines. This dorky little Star Trek app I've been playing. Yeah, it's not bad, but I wanted to move on from Friday the 13th for a while. Let's see. I think I'll go on more missions here. Oh, jeez. Actually, let me turn that down a little bit. Gotta say, for a game based on an app, it's pretty odd. Let's see here. So yeah, we'll talk a little bit about movies, play some Star Trek tonight. Talk a little bit about the Dark Tower and how apparently I'm the only one who seems to like this movie. I wonder if I should go for it here. And we'll give it a shot. So yeah, apparently, so yeah, I saw the Dark Tower last night of the screening, and the embargo was set for last night, and I didn't actually read any of the reviews before I got to bed, and I just kind of wrote up my review and had it edited and ready for tomorrow. And I woke up tomorrow and found like, oh no, it's, what was it, like 18-20% around there right now? Oh my goodness, it's so far down. And between that and, I made the tweet, like between that and the Book of Henry, it's like another one of those films I'm alone on. It wouldn't be the first time. I think it's also the same thing with, oh, what's it, yeah, I also saw, like, Detroit the night before, and, without giving too much away in my review, I like Detroit, but I don't, like, everyone's looking at this like it's the best film of the year, and, I'm a little conflicted with it, because I honestly don't think it's as great. Like, it's tough to, like, it's a very tough film to watch. It's one of those things like, let's see what I got here. The House of Duress is never, well, I will see each and every one of these augmented creatures torn limb from limb until I find the feature. Well, that's not right. It's, how about that? Let's go too far, attacking unprovoked. It is without honor. From Blood Eater. Okay. Why not? Jeez. Oh, I'll never get tired of that phrase. God, those eyes. Alright, what should we do next? Ooh! Want some con. Actually, should probably check this here. So yeah, I mean, I like the Dark Tower. I mean, it's, yeah, it's very deeply flawed. I know a lot of people, who are big on the, oh, come on. I hate it when they do this. Back out here. Oh my goodness. Some of these visuals. I just love these visuals. We got Tina in the chat. Hey Tina, how you doing? Long time since we had the chat. I'll have to set up, I was gonna see about setting up Discord with this thing sometime soon. So, it's the strangest thing. Like, Dark Tower, it's got this very campy, setting to it, where it's like, I don't know, it reminded me of like those 1980s action fantasy films that, you know, were never that on the mark, that they always felt off, and they always felt like you laughed at them for the wrong reasons. And I get the feeling that that's not what people were in for with Dark Tower. I think they wanted a serious, weighty kind of like fantasy that's like stooped in lore.
I'll try not to disappoint you.
Yeah, good luck with that, Wesley. And I think that was like the biggest problem that a lot of people had. And then also like the acting here, it's campy as hell. Like a lot of people like are really gonna hate Matthew McConaughey's performance on this. Because he's trying to like ham it up as much as he can here, and so many people are gonna take issue with that. But no, it's fun. It feels very much like an 80s film. You know, you got kids in it who get to fight alongside their heroes, shoot guns at Matthew McConaughey. There's all this weird magical crap they get into, and it's surprisingly dark. Like, I would not... I'd probably take a kid of maybe like 11 or 12 to this. I don't know any more than that.
Fascinating.
What do I want to do here? Because I should probably get data on here. Should that do it? And I'll go card. Actually, reach out to you. Need some room. Would you say having read the books be more enjoyable for the Dark Tower or less unique? It might, you know, honestly, I like a lot more of Stephen King's work when it's adapted to film more than his actual books. And I know that's like, you know, like the popular thing to say for a lot of people, but
right away, sir.
But honestly, I think that they are. I mean, I've tried to read some of his work, and I honestly like the films a little bit better. Especially, like the biggest one, obviously, is like The Shining. Only just because, you know, yeah, you can say, you know, I love Kubrick too much, and I'll accept that, but it's truth. I have not read Under the Dome, though. I've heard that Under the Dome is, like, I watched the first season, I thought it was alright, and then the second season just tanked, like it fell off a cliff. Not sure if it's any better in the book. I started reading a little bit of it, I haven't finished it as much. But yeah, I've tried to read some of, like, the Dark, not like the first Dark Tower book, I've actually tried to read the, what was the one, what was the fifth book? I think it was called, like, Werewolves? Something like that. I think it was alright. More crap. I was watching an interview with Iris, and it almost felt like he knew it was coming. He seemed too hyper and worried about the whole interview. Well, any actor is always, you know, stressed about the reviews and everything. Wolves of the Calls, yes, that is the one. Hefty book, though. I'm trying to get through it, yeah. There we go. But yeah, where's it going? Yeah, every actor kind of worries about, you know, like the reviews come out, and then, you know, obviously it irks them mainly because, like, Rotten Tomatoes is such like a, you know, it's like an aggregate score, you know, like it's like we're looking at right here with Star Trek, we're just looking at numbers. And that's kind of one of the things I do not like about Rotten Tomatoes. I mean, I understand that it's an aggregate and everything. It's just the problem that with the way that people read it. Yeah, we'll be merciful here. I think that if people misconstrue, you know, if a film is like on a certain percentage, like if they, like, you know, if it's at 18%, you know, maybe those 90, like those 80 or so percent of people just thought it was okay. Just didn't think it was terrible. Goes across the board there, so it's important, I think, to read interviews. Because a lot of people just look at that, like, Rotten Tomatoes percentage and then just go nuts. Let's see, Justin says, I suggest starting with drawing one of the three if you're going to skip one. Meeting Eddie and the other players are very important. Yeah, I'd probably say so. I mean, I was able to pick up on a little bit of it. I think that's what I like a little bit more about the about that fifth book, is that I was able to get into it fairly well for not knowing a lot of the lore. And that's what actually what I liked about the film, is that it skipped over a lot of this a lot of this lore that a lot of these fantasy films get stooped in, especially ones that want to start with like a foundation film, just like stoop you in all this lore, like, oh, know this character, here's this history. I really don't care about all that, and you can kind of sense that the director too doesn't really want to waste our time with a lot of stuff. Like I mentioned mostly in the review, that it's like, yeah, I really don't care that we didn't establish much of the backstory. It's like, yeah, okay, he was a gunslinger, there were a lot of them at one point, now there aren't, and he's fighting a sorcerer trying to blow up a tower. Got it. And let's see, we can do an android, Klingon, Vulcan. Perfect.
He said, "Today is a good day to die."
That's not reassuring, Worf. I thought I had a stronger one. Might not have.
Live long and prosper.
But yeah, it's another one of those situations that I'm kind of used to. Like, ever since I've been kind of getting used to, you know, kind of being like the lone voice on certain films since I first reviewed Domino, which is it was a weird Tony Scott film with Keira Knightley. It had like weird like celebrity hostages and stuff, and it played fast and loose with the played fast and loose with like the timeline stuff, and everyone hated it. I think it was something like 10%. And that's when I realized, you know, you have to
is a good day to die.
Stand by your opinion, you know. Yeah, crap. Probably gonna lose this one. Oh, I don't want to grind with this stuff. Yeah, we'll back out of this one. But yeah, I think I might be in a similar spot with Detroit, because oh my goodness, hang on, I gotta grab this off here. I think I might be in a similar problem with Detroit, because I'm not quite on board with like the whole like best film of the year at this point. I might later on like Detroit a little bit more. Oh my goodness, there we go. Pardon me, I'm just getting a sweater off here. Yeah, I think I might like Detroit a little more as time goes by, but I felt like, you know, for Catherine Bigelow, I felt like there should be a little bit more for her direction here, which it seems like it's going for just like the base level of like how horrible the racism and violence was in the like 1960s riots with the Algiers hotel incident, and she mostly just portrays, you know, how
Right away, sir.
How horrible it felt to be in the situation. And we don't really learn too much more about the case past, you know, like a little bit of basic setup about the racist cops involved, and the beatings that took place, and the killings that took place. The film does a good job of like setting it up. The only problem is that, like, I think that's kind of all it gives you, and you can kind of tell when Bigelow is oh, perfect. You can kind of tell where Bigelow is kind of like filling in the blanks of the story, especially because like when we stay in like the entire second act is in the Algiers hotel, and it basically turns into a horror movie at that point. Like, especially like, you know, horror films that go through like typical tropes where let's try this one. Especially the typical horror tropes where, you know, victims are trapped in a house and they try to escape to the basement and they end back to where they started. So I felt like there could have been like a little bit more here past it. I think she's too focused on the analytics or the specifics of, like, you know, the event itself, trying to restage it rather than looking for a deeper meaning there, which I know that Bigelow is capable of finding. Yeah, apparently for the Dark Tower, they wanted to
Engage.
And I might be wrong because they've kind of been all over the place with their plans, but apparently they wanted to
I always get an A.
have this movie, then do a mini-series, then do another movie, and then do another mini-series, and then I think kind of back and forth between there. which is really ambitious. And again, it all depends on how the film does, which, you know, people take Rotten Tomatoes pretty seriously in some of these aspects. I think the film will probably do okay. It's got enough talent. I think it'll be good word of mouth. People like the actors. The actors are alright in it. I think it's definitely going to be an underrated film in the years to come. Oh boy.
Make it so.
Let's see, hopefully we can get through here. Yeah, crap. Yeah, 20 to 30 million, that sounds about right. Yeah, we're way too underpowered for that mission. Yeah, and unfortunately, that's not going to be enough for these bigger fantasy films. I think it only costs like 60 mil though, so I think it'll make its money back. I think it won't be like a huge loss, but I don't know if it's going to be enough to convince them to go ahead with like the mini-series. Which is kind of sad, because I don't know, I kind of like to see how it would go down. It'd be interesting, but I think that they're kind of shooting for the stars here. I think they're after like that Marvel money, you know. Have as many TV series tying in as possible.
Right away, sir.
Let's see, we have a counselor, mechanic, augment, biology. I think I'm mostly on the same fence with a lot of people with an inconvenient sequel. I think most people are kind of in agreement that, yeah, it presents some interesting science, a little bit of hope in there, but I think it's a little bit too caught up in Al Gore sensationalism that kind of takes away from, you know, the bigger message of the film. Still pretty cool stuff to see, and just it's very, very up to date.
I always get an A. I'll try not to disappoint you.
Oh, Wesley. Hopefully this... Do we have enough? I think that'll work. Yep.
Right away, sir.
What is the next big movie you're excited for? I'm ready for Thor Ragnarok. I'm hopeful for Thor Ragnarok. I've never been that big a fan of the Thor films. I think they always feel like they're off and trying to explore their own universe. It always feels like they're a little bit afraid to go through Thor's universe. Like, I think it might be a little too silly to go through. But Thor Ragnarok looks like it might embrace a little bit more of its, you know, a little bit more of its universe to explore, which could be fun. Oh man, we are screwed. I gotta get these guys up though. Gotta do that. Yeah, I'm looking forward to Thor Ragnarok. I am looking forward most to what's it? Bladerunner 2049, 46, Bladerunner 2040, but Bladerunner. We'll just say Bladerunner for that. Mainly because, like, yeah, it's produced by Ridley Scott, but it is also directed by Denis Villeneuve, who he's directed a lot of interesting films like Sicario and some of my favorite films like Prisoners and what's that? Oh, Arrival, of course. He did this really experimental film called Enemy, where Jake Gyllenhaal is confronting his doppelganger. Cool stuff like that. So he does very thoughtful science fiction that that I think that, you know, he's not just going to, you know, turn in like a typical remake of Blade Runner. I think he's actually going to have some interesting ideas, because he hasn't disappointed me yet. So I'm hopeful that he won't hear, and especially because I heard that he's going to be working on the remake of or another stab at Dune, which I think he's perfect for, because Dune is such like a hornet's nest of an adaptation that you need someone very focused to make that film work. And I think Denise could do it. I'm trying to think of others that I'm looking forward to. I'm willing to give, we got a screening next week for Annabelle, the beginning, Annabelle Origins, something like that. And I'm looking forward to that one, just a little bit, just because, you know, horror films in general are pretty hot right now. And I'm willing to, like, I really didn't like Annabelle, but I'm willing to give it another shot, because I really did like The Conjuring. And I like these smaller horror films. Even though I find it kind of ridiculous that now we have this, this kind of like Conjuring extended universe. Where, because apparently now we're getting, like, there's the Annabelle movie, and now we're getting a, there's going to be a film adaptation of the, or a film spin-off of, like, the Tall Man from The Conjuring 2. So there's this whole Conjuring universe that's being set up. Although I am getting tired of all these universes, like they did that with Split, and hope I'm not giving anything away by saying that Split's going to be in a big Shyamalan universe. But yeah, I'm kind of hopeful on Justice League, just because I want Justice League to work so badly. But again, you know, we're getting this talk of like reshoots and how much money they're spending. It's just like, ugh. Hopeful, but I'm kind of hopeful now because yeah, Wonder Woman went through the same amount of reshoots, and it actually turned out pretty okay. So don't quite know, which I kind of like that. I know that studios fear that because they want all that money so easily, but sometimes you gotta take a risk. Got here. What are your thoughts on the? What are your thoughts on all of the found footage horror movies? I'd like them to stop. As a horror fan who can't watch found footage, I think found footage is done. I really think it is. The last found footage film I can remember was what was it? Oh, The Visit, the M. Night Shyamalan film. And I think that was just M. Night Shyamalan trying to bank off of, trying to make bank off of the whole found footage format as it was on its way out the door. Because I think he said, like, oh, well, found footage films, or you can just throw the camera around. Oh, I could do that. I can make that film easily.
I'll try not to disappoint you.
But yeah, found footage is really, like, it's a little too cheap now. And especially since we got much better horror film directors out there who don't need to rely on the gimmick. Because that's honestly what it was for a while. You know, it was just a cheap gimmick that sold stuff like what was it? Paranormal Activity. It was extremely cheap film sold on that. And you know, we've gone through this fad of films like that before, like the Blair Witch Project just started off the big trend of that. And even before that, there was a film called The Last Broadcast that did a similar technique. But yeah, I think found footage is kind of just on its way out the door, if it's not already. Like, there was a time when I saw a whole bunch of like indie horror films doing nothing but found footage, and not even like capable found footage. So yeah, hopefully I haven't seen any that have come along since like The Visit, and that was about like 2 years ago. Yeah. So yeah, you don't have to worry about found footage. That I think is just, it's dead for like the next hopefully for a longer time than it was between the Blair Witch Project and Paranormal Activity. So I think you're safe for the next decade if it was to go by that. But yeah, there's a lot of great horror films out there right now, like the ABCs of Death, the VHS anthology, Babadook. I really like The Void. The Void is like an 80s, like an ode to 80s horror films. Some people are kind of on the fence of it. I personally can't get enough of it because like the 80s horror trend is kind of a little bit more in vogue now. After stuff like Turbo Kid, and there's a really great one called Beyond the Gates, which is like a VHS Dungeons and Dragons type horror film. Really cool stuff. Yeah, I think horror films are now going more for... I think they're going more for, like, the ghost gimmick now. Because The Conjuring's still going strong, so they got films like Annabelle coming out, so I think... found footage is out, but ghosts are still in. I don't think torture porn is still on the table. I think it's mostly gone away, because I think Eli Roth is focusing on other stuff right now. Yeah, The Void's currently on Netflix.
Engage.
Interesting little Canadian film shot on the cheap. Definitely worth checking out. There's a few big things that came on Netflix. Just watching The Founder. Just a kind of a true-ish story about the story behind the McDonald's. Pretty cool. It's got Michael Keaton in it and Nick Offerman. Which is weird to see Nick Offerman without his beard. Let's see who's best suited. Yeah, we'll do this so we don't waste everything. There's a few films I've yet to catch up on this year. Like I've mentioned, like I haven't been able to see War of the Planet of the Apes because we had an odd time for the screening, and then I wasn't able to make it to the Emoji Movie because we didn't have a screening. Because Sony really doesn't want you. Sony really didn't want us to watch that movie. I mean, they're going nuts right now. Any suggestions searching for gems on Netflix? Well, I do some articles on Movie Spoon about little Netflix shows you should probably check out. But a great site to keep track of all this stuff on is there's a website called instantwatcher.com, and that'll keep track of what's the newest on Netflix and what's the most in demand, like what's trending, more or less. Because let's face it, I mean, the Netflix interface is garbage, and it's mostly because, you know, streaming interfaces right now, like Netflix is probably the best I've seen, and it's still a mess. So, yeah, instantwatcher.com is what I use to keep up on everything. I think it's some other smaller gems in there. There's a lot of smaller films that have popped up on there. Stuff like there's a drama called Christine, which is about the true story about a newscaster that killed herself live on the air. It's pretty freaky stuff. I'm trying to think what else was on there. We'll see a lot of series. I know they kind of blew their wad early this year with a bunch of different original series that had come out. F is for Family is pretty good. House of Cards kind of fell off a cliff for me. Wish I could like that one more.
I always get an A.
Break stuff. Oh my goodness. But yeah, I try to go through, like, Netflix has a few gems on there. You kind of have to search through them there. I think it's they have an overabundance of stuff. The interesting thing right now is that there are a lot of these, like, specific streaming services that cater more to specific types now. Because, like, I think it's kind of like this weird thing where, you know, how, like, cord cutting has kind of, like, forced, like, television networks to, or, like, cable networks to reorganize how they offer packages. Well, now there's, like, different streaming services that offer different packages. Because now there's stuff like, was it like BritBox, and is that one Shudder is the horror service. Personally, I really dig like Filmstruck because it's got like all the Criterion films on there. So yeah, there's a whole bunch of different streaming services. I'm tempted to get BritBox just so I can watch more the old Doctor Who, just because I've been meaning to catch up on those for a while. But the main ones I have are like Netflix, Amazon Prime, and Filmstruck. There we go. Haven't quite been on Filmstruck as much though. I know like the last thing I recommended from there was like The Crow. Because yeah, they do got a lot of genre pictures, but there's also like smaller films from the Criterion collection that are definitely worth checking out. Are we ready yet? Actually, let me see if I can get the... What's the time? Can we get any new crew yet? Yeah, spin. Let's see. Man, I love that sound of the time portal there. I don't remember any of these guys. Oh, yeah. We're camera tag. How do we get these? Do we have to spin for it? Alright. Got a blueprint. Nice. We change your ship? A little bit, I guess. Still looks pretty badass. Have you seen Inner Space? Yes! I love Inner Space. That's one of those like underrated films from the late 80s. Kind of like semi-ridiculous take on, you know, Fantastic Voyage. Of just, you know, Martin Short being invaded by Dennis Quaid. Got some really cool slapstick in it. I think I mostly just love it just because, like, Martin Short, he knows how to make that role work. Like, it's such a goofy idea for a movie, and it's mostly just like special effects. But he sells it so well. And I love Martin Short. And if you want to see him freak out the most, that's one of those great films to see. It's a lot like that other concept of being infested by someone that Steve Martin was in. What was it called? I think it was called All of You. The one where he has some other woman inside his mind. Yeah, it's a neat little film. It was very much, it did not make any money when it came out in the late 80s. Like, it completely got overlooked. I don't know if it's because of stuff like Three Amigos or other Martin Short projects. I don't remember there being too many. I think there are a few big films that came out during that time. I think it got overshadowed by stuff like Batman and stuff. Yeah, there's a lot of smaller films that came out like during that year of the 80s that usually got lost, especially in like 1982. Like, a lot of people know more of like the familiar 1982 films like Conan and Tron, but a lot of those got overlooked by stuff like E.T. during the time. Would that work? Yeah. There's quite a few cool things on Netflix right now. I definitely recommend checking out, I don't know, if you're into like more like international films, I'd really recommend Filmstruck. What else was on Netflix? Oh yeah, another, I'll probably screw this one up, but we'll just go ahead with it anyway. Another big one on Netflix, right? Not really a big one, but one worth checking out is, what was it called? Cloud Atlas, which is a very underrated Wachowski movie. I mean, I know that most Wachowski films are kind of like underrated or go under the radar just because they're so expensive and they never make money. But they still keep making them, and I'm glad they did, because Cloud Atlas is probably their most ambitious project. I mean, it's got a great cast. It's got a very unconventional story that takes place across many different timelines. It's very non-linear. It's so bizarre seeing like all these actors, and like all these actors are like different roles across time, and they all have these weird makeup to them. It's a very long movie, but it's one that I absolutely love going back to. So yeah, Cloud Atlas, another underrated film from Wachowski's. Don't know if we'll make it out of this one. Yeah, hopefully. Come on. Let's get that honor from Lyrsa. Boom. Wonderful. Ah, finally. Yeah, the big streaming ones that I would have right now are Netflix, Prime, and Filmstruck. Because at one point, like, it made sense to have Netflix and Prime at the same time, because Netflix had Justice League and Batman Beyond, and Prime has Batman the Animated Series and Superman the Animated Series. Justice League is unfortunately it's off this month. I don't know if it'll be back, but Prime still has Batman the Animated Series and Superman, so it's good enough for me. And I also like that Prime has a lot more independent films and films that come out through their studio. Like, I'm trying to think of a bigger one. They just had a film come out there called The Exception, which its original title was The Kaiser's Last Kiss or something like that. Really cool, like romantic period piece with Christopher Plummer, and Jai Courtney plays a Nazi and Lily James plays a Jew. They both fall in love, and they have some very, very like erotic scenes together. They're actually quite effective. Like, it's rare that I get to see any like these. I see so many of those like different romantic films, and like they always have like, you know, them trying to be like erotic and have these sexual scenes, and they fall flat, so flat. And there's quite a bit of sex in The Exception, and it actually feels genuine. It actually feels like it's romantic and passionate. That there's something there. But I don't know, most of the romantic films that I've seen this year in the theater have just been, you know, these teen romance films that are just like that just make you feel weird that, you know, you're watching teens have sex on screen, especially since they're very flat teens, and like The Space Between Us and everything, these really stupid stories of like of like science fiction and like diseases and being like boys in the bubble. They're just not effective. And just not romantic either. That's the biggest problem. Like that. Oh, I can't get in there? You gotta be. There you go. I guess we can't do that. Can we? Need 4 protons. Guess we gotta do a different mission then. Oh boy. Can we do any missions? My goodness. I gotta say though, for a game based on an app here, this is really finicky. With at least like the click detection here. Not that great. Let's see, I'm trying to think of some other Netflix films. There's smaller ones you could probably check out. Not too many. The Founder is not a great film, but I definitely recommend checking it out for Michael Keaton. Still behind on your videos. I noticed that Aaron made an appearance. Oh yeah, the the Wing Commander video. Oh my god, we shot those shot those 10 years ago. Oh, that was so bizarre. Dead Snow. Oh, I love Dead Snow. Even the sequel, like the sequel goes for like full goofy campiness, and it goes a little over the top, which can be dangerous, you know, because then you're a little bit too self-aware that you're goofy. But I actually think it was pretty effective, especially because it makes great use of zombies. Ah, I forgot about that. Yeah, thanks, Caliban, the astronaut's wife. It's been added to Netflix. There's a few ones, like, I'm trying to keep up with a few of them, but a lot of them go so fast through the queue, like the trending, that it's tough to keep up at times with it. Oh my god. Gotta wait up another minute for that? Ah, jeez. Why do they gotta limit you so much on this? Let's see. Can we train anyone? Nope. I think we blew our wad on the time machine, didn't we? Yeah, let's see. You gotta buy the lithium. Like, I like cash for this game is into lithium crystals. It's wonderful. Yeah, Illumination has, for those who don't know, like, Illumination Entertainment, it kind of has, like, a big deal with Netflix going on right now, where stuff like The Secret Life of Pets, and Minions, and now Sing is on there, so that's one big thing that, a lot of people are going to keep coming back to Netflix for. You've probably already seen it by now, but if you haven't, you know, Rogue One is currently on Netflix as well. If you haven't seen it, you need to, because even for being a prequel series, it actually holds up pretty well. Especially since, you know, you know every... Especially since they're original characters, so there's no guarantee that anyone makes it out alive. Wild Wild West, too low, below 50% on Rotten Tomatoes. That's too high. It's a pretty bad film. And I kind of liked it when it came out, but I go back and watch it now and there's a lot of cringeworthy stuff in it. Like, especially that scene where, like, Will Smith is trying to, like, improv before, like, a lynch mob. Like, oof, some of that dialogue is just wickedly bad. We should probably get some more experience for some other...
Ready, sir?
Let's see if we can get in. Can we? Oh, you gotta be kidding me. How my chromaton so low? Good gravy. Not gonna pay for your shit. And of course, you know, there's the obvious, you know, ridiculousness of that, the giant spider and everything. You know, there's the big story behind that and the Superman deal. Although, oh, worth checking out is, on Amazon Prime, they do have The Death of Superman. What's it? The Death of Superman documentary. How many do I need? I need 50? And how many? Good gravy. Well, this is just highway robbery. Highway robbery. Yep. Yep, they do interview like John Peters. It's a surprisingly good documentary for being funded through a Kickstarter. You see the cube there? I can kind of see it. Yeah, they interview quite a few people for that documentary from like John Peters and Kevin Smith and everything. So you really get a big idea of like what was going on with the Superman film at the time. But yeah, that Superman film it needed to be stopped because they were already working on that crap like what's that one with Shaq? Steel. Which, yeah, how many people remember Steel? Can I use these credits to just buy something in there? Come on. Yeah, the only memorable thing about Wild Wild West is the theme song, which, you know, for being based on a TV series, you know, to have like lyrics like Wiki Wiki Wild, Wiki Wild Wild, Wild Wild West. Come on, we are going to the Wild Wild West. Come on, yeah, it's bizarre. It is so bizarre, especially the fact that my wife especially hates what they did with like Loveless. Like he used to be like, you know, like the amazing little small person who was like conniving, and now he's played by Kenneth Branagh. Looks like he had his legs chopped off. Like, you want to talk about whitewashing? There used to be a trend in Hollywood with dwarf washing. Or I don't know. I'm probably finding the wrong term for that, but yeah, they essentially didn't want to hire certain dwarf that I can't say certain little people. I'm gonna offend everyone now. Yeah, they wanted to get around that, and the most offensive version of that is a little film called Tiptoes, in which they tried to create like a CGI creation of like a large actor as a normal-looking actor. I mean, sorry, large actor as like kind of a little person, and it is so bizarre to watch. It's like you gotta give Tyrell some work, you know. Man's gotta eat. I'm trying to think. There's also some really weird science and
I always get an A.
I know it sounds stupid to talk about the science of Wild Wild West, but you have this inventor who can invent all this crap, like the most ridiculous invention he had.
Acknowledged.
Was a good gravy. I need one more. The most ridiculous invention he had was the what was it called? I forget what it's called. It was a thing you put in their brain, and it would somehow play like a projector of what you last saw. And it's like, this is the Wild West? Really? That's what we're doing here. Also, like, he can build this, but he apparently can't figure out how to create a convincing disguise of being in drag as a woman. Like, he has to be coached by more crap you gotta buy. Like, he has to be coached by Will Smith on what a boob feels like. Plus, especially, Salma Hayek is in the film, and she's literally there just for, like, tits and ass. Like, there is... And not even for, like, a romantic lead or anything. She's literally just there for tits and ass. There's a scene where Will Smith and, I'm blanking on his name. Will Smith and the other guy. How about that? Where Will Smith and the other guy are essentially just talking about her ass and tits. And nothing more. And she doesn't end up with anyone, so there's no real romantic tension there. Great. Let's try one of the smaller missions right now. Sorry I went off on a tangent there about the Wild Wild West. It's probably longer than anyone should ever talk about that film. Wait, where are we going? Ooh. Alright, can we do this one? Let's see.
I will adapt.
Oh, finally. Let's see if we can't get these lower crew members up here.
Unacceptable.
What? What isn't acceptable? Some of these sound bites are just bizarre. Close. Wait for these all to turn up to the max here. There we go.
Unacceptable.
Get everything you got. Great. Level up Sulu. Oh my. See, again, going back to what I talked about on one of the other gaming ones is that I've been going back to watch a lot of these like 90s films, and current one I'm on is Hackers. And man, that film is so much more enjoyable than I remember. I remember thinking like, oh, it's kind of dorky, kind of lovable, but no, I love that film a lot more now. With the whole hack the planet stuff, the ridiculous virtual reality games, the way that it makes hacking look so much more fun than it really is. It's great. Especially love Matthew Lillard in it. It's just looking ridiculous as all get out. I'm trying to think what was Matthew Lillard? He had some kind of like weird hairdo, kind of like the
live long and prosper,
like locks or something like that, and he was wearing sunglasses the whole time. And Angelina Jolie just looks amazing in that film. Just, oh my goodness, how you cannot have a crush on her. It's like, yeah, hackers, like, you know, stupid science and all stupid like computer technology, but yeah, that was during the 90s, you know, when computers were still like, you know, weird mysteries that nobody really knew about. She made films like The Network. Could I use data? Probably wouldn't need Spock. Although it would probably help to have him.
Make it so.
Hopefully this will work. For goodness sake. It would help if you told me that before. Let's see. Maybe we can get into one of these here. Can we get into the division? Good gravy.
Engage.
Yeah. I know I should probably get the experience points up on these other guys, but really need to improve these. Come on, let's see, what should we do? I've been trying to catch up on a lot more of these 90s films to remember them, because a lot of them I have not watched since like the late 90s when I was renting them from the video store. Hackers was not in particular. Hackers I watched like when in college, but then there's other stuff like The Truman Show I haven't seen since it came out, and Wag the Dog. I had I had no idea what was going on in Wag the Dog when I watched it when I was a kid, so I cannot wait to go back and rewatch that. The Piano Been a while since I've seen that too. Remains of the Day I have not actually seen. And I'm looking forward to seeing that because I do love watching Anthony Hopkins. Let's see. Well, these guys are outmatched for me. Let's see if we can change that up.
Aye, Captain.
I'll try not to disappoint you.
Come on. Just enough trope. Oh, it's what's, oh yeah, Just Enough Trope podcast there. Okay, so Defend Dark Tower. Why does it succeed as an adaptation? It doesn't, and that's why I like it. Yeah, as an adaptation, it's hard to talk about, you know, because I haven't really read that particular book it's based on. I've read a little bit of, was it Wolves of the Call? But I haven't watched, like, the original that it's based on. The original book that it's based on. But it is fun as a really kind of like campy fantasy, akin to like those like 80s films that you wanted to laugh a little bit. And yeah, like on one level it is kind of so bad that it's good, but it actually kind of works because like the first act is just kind of like standard fantasy bullcrap, you know. It's like, oh, there's another world, oh, nobody believes me, I gotta get to this world. And then they have like the typical monster BS of like, oh, there's a monster that looks like my dead dad, but it might be my dead dad, so maybe I'll go to it, and then have the gunslinger come and save my ass when it's not really my dad and it's some monster trying to kill me. That type of bullcrap. Good gravy, come on. But yeah, I guess like I'm more like I like the film more for what it doesn't do. Like, it doesn't stoop me in all this lore and characters I really don't care about. I don't need to know that much about the Dark Tower world. It's like, there's a tower, it protects this land, and if it's blown up by an evil sorcerer, all these monsters and darkness and evil crap is gonna get in. Great, got it, go. There's the kid, he sees visions, and he's got like the psychic shining power or whatever that can bring the tower down. Sorcerer wants him. Great, got it. There's a gunslinger. There are a lot of them. Now there's only one of them. Cool, got it. And yeah, like, it never takes off. It presents so much of these different story ideas, and none of them really take off. Like, there's the best part of the movie is when they bring Roland to what's it called, like Stone. I'm trying to remember the terminology here, but he essentially brings him to New York City. And he's amazed by everything, you know, typical fish out of water stuff. But I really like that line where, what's that line? Where he's looking at like a television commercial of like talking raccoons, and he's like, oh, it's, yo, animals still talk in your world? It's like, no, it's just a commercial. Wait, what do you mean still? Now, the film could have gone to a point where it says like, oh, well, you know, a long time ago the animals spoke and we lived in harmony with them, and it's like, I do not care. I really do not care. And I guess I love the film more from like from a person who really doesn't dig fantasy that much, because like a lot of these fantasy films, they bog you with so much of this material, and it's like, wow, I really don't care. And I think that would work best for something like Dark Tower if it's trying to appeal to more people, although it probably won't, because like, I don't know, it worked for me because it didn't ask so much of the audience. Like, it just like, okay, you know, if you're familiar with enough of this fantasy stuff, we don't have to spend too much time on it, so we're gonna skirt by it. It's worth it just for how ridiculous that that ending is, of like Matthew McConaughey catching bullets and Idris Elba ricocheting bullets off of everything with a gun made from Excalibur. It's like, this is so ridiculous, but I kind of like it. This is a sort of talking raccoon dog. It's a main character, more like a parrot than anything. Probably just a call to it. Yeah, probably. I'm open to it as a campy thing, but it seems like something that's 7 books long and so beloved, it's weird that they boil it down to shooting stuff. Yeah, it is. And it's probably going to be hated by that. And I'm trying to think of like the best way to soften the blow on this, but and this is going to sound like an insult, but it reminds me of Masters of the Universe, and in that it's trying to cram in so much stuff and doesn't explain much of it, but when you think about the concept and how weird it is, it's actually kind of lovable. And I don't know, just like the way it goes for like some of these like ridiculous scenes towards the end, it's almost kind of like it's doubling down. Like, okay, you know, a lot of this story is just going through the usual beats. It's not working here, so we'll give you some ridiculous action. I love the... There's an amazing scene where Idris Elba is trying to... He's trying to save the kid who's being hauled off by like some of the demons or whatever. And he's trying to find him, and he can't find the demon. So he stands still. It's perfectly calm and serene. It's like a Zen-like moment. It's like, I'm going to try to hone in on the enemy. And not only does he figure out where the enemy is, where to aim his gun, but he also figures out where to ricochet the bullets off of everything. And I mean, you can't take this stuff too seriously. I mean, it's a gun made from Excalibur. It's ricocheting off crap. The psychic powers of the kid are referred to as the Shine. I mean, it's silly. I know a lot of people think, like, oh, it's not that silly, it shouldn't be that stupid.
Engage.
But at the same time, it's like some of these films take themselves way too seriously. Yeah, Dark Tower cost $60 million to make. So I get the feeling it's one of those films that it's not going to make a lot of money, but I think it'll make its budget back. And yeah, you could tell, like, well, Sony's, you know, I think they want to do stuff on the cheap now, especially after like stuff with like Sausage Party and stuff like that. They don't want to waste a lot of money. I mean, you know, they don't want another Ghostbusters on their hands. You know, they don't want another oh, what's that? They don't want something like Valerian going for them. Book series is very silly. The amount of meta it gets towards the end is insane and very crowd-pleasing. Oh, good. Then I was worried because, like, I got the feeling that, like, it was very tongue-in-cheek. Like, I almost got the point, like, maybe this is in on it. Well, Ghostbusters didn't make a lot of money. It made its budget back, but, you know, for all the money they sink into advertising, and for like all the money they sank into like advertising for that, and like all these projects they were starting and these sequels they wanted, it underperformed. It didn't like crash and burn, but it did not make a lot of money, which for a big blockbuster you wanted to. Especially because, like, Sony is really bad about spending money. Like, it came out the same year as the Angry Birds movie, where they spent like $300 million on just the ads. Not the film, but just on the advertising for Angry Birds. And it's like, wow. It's like you spent all that money, and it's like, and it only cost like $60 million to make, but just like wow, like you spent all that time and money. And what did it amount to? You know, nothing. How do you think the film will fit into the planned TV series? Well, that all depends if the film makes money, I think. It's like, yeah, they can plan this series out, but if it doesn't make money, you know, then they're gonna have a hard time finding a distributor. So more than likely it'll probably go to like Netflix if they get really desperate, or maybe some smaller network at that point. And then it'll be interesting to see if if they're willing to go ahead with like this sequel film that's going to follow the TV series. I think it'll fit well. Like, they leave it open, like, you know, again, not familiar with the books, but they leave it open towards the end where, you know, you could have all sorts of like mini adventures going off on the side there. How much longer do I get out of these chromatons? I will not pay. I know there's a paywall, but whatever.
Aye, sir.
There you go, Sulu, have a iPad.
Aye, sir.
I think that the film will fit in well with the TV series in that they establish enough outside stuff going on within the Dark Tower world that could be explored more. My only hope is that it, you know, it doesn't turn into what I didn't want Dark Tower to be, which is just focusing too much on the lore. And like, essentially, if they're doing a TV series, you know, I want them to put a lot of effort into it. I don't want something like Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., where they're just like kind of like filling time and just kind of saying like, oh, look outside. It's an incredible special effect that we can't pay for. Which, that always irked me about these TV series that want to have like such big ideas they can't deliver. Especially in this day and age, stuff like Game of Thrones and stuff. I know Game of Thrones is, you know, 2 hours, Jesus. I know Game of Thrones is expensive, but still, you know, you could get some decent effects now and then. Like, Sci-Fi Channel original series are actually pretty good. So if they're willing to spend money, obviously someone else should. Especially with like Krypton. Like, Krypton actually looks pretty good. I have some worries and some doubts about it still, but you know, I'll give it a watch. So you think Sony... Let's see, Justin says, so you think Sony knows it still has a cash cow with merchandise? That will give it another try. Let's see, after the announcement at Comic-Con by Ivan this year saying there's going to be another live-action Ghostbusters movie, I think the chances are low. Chances are very low. And if it is, it's going to have a lot of reworking. I mean, Sony is going nuts right now. They're losing investors left and right. They're banking on ridiculous things like their clean flicks to make the money, and it's not working right now. So Sony is going nuts right now, kamikaze mode. If they do end up doing something with Ghostbusters at this point in their craziness, it's gonna be crap. It's gonna be studio meddling up and down. Speaking laterally about Ron Howard, what do you think about the upcoming Han Solo movie? Depends. Depends how much Ron Howard is going to be allowed to change. It could be interesting. Could have a unique angle to it. But again, I think, like, you know, the fact that they hired Miller and Lord to work on a Star Wars film, and then they got mad that they turned it into comedy. It's just that's just stupid on their part. Like, you should know who these directors are and what they're going to give you.
Make it so.
That's like hiring, like, what's her name? Aya DuVernay to direct your Star Wars film and say, like, man, you put a lot of black people in it. It's like, well, yeah, Aya DuVernay does movies about black people because that's what she's interested in. Miller and Lord do mostly films about comedies because they're just doing comedies. You know your director. I mean,
I'll try not to disappoint you.
Something that amateurish is like something out of it's like something out of, what was that one? Like Fox. Fox used to do this stupid thing where they would grab random directors to direct blockbusters. Like for, what was it, the X-Men film Wolverine Origins, something like that. They hired the director of Totsi to direct the best foreign film of Totsi. It's kind of like, really? You hired that director? It's like, yeah, we're giving her a shot. It's like, well, gotta check the credentials, you know. I mean, I understand, like, you know, Sony yeah, like Sony, Disney takes risks a lot of times. Like, you know, like who would hire like James Gunn to to direct Guardians of the Galaxy? The guy did Super and Slither. It's like, you want that guy doing your Marvel film? It's like, yeah, he's a good director. He's got a good style. Even though he puts tentacles in everything. And Lloyd Kaufman. Can't escape those trauma days. I just got back, so I don't know if I missed you discussing this. But did you see the trailer for Death Wish? I did. And I'm about as disappointed as it can get. Yeah, like Death Wish, it looks like just every random Bruce Willis film that's come out within like the last few years, especially like his direct-to-video films. I think I gotta find a smaller mission here for these guys. What do I think about Ender's Game? Is there another Ender's Game movie coming out? I heard rumors. It'd be interesting if they keep going with Ender's Game. I never actually liked any of the novels past like the first one. I thought the second one was okay, but just the others didn't really do much for me. But yeah, Death Wish is just bizarre. Yeah, you can tell that they're not taking Death Wish that seriously, and at the same time, it's like, yeah, you shouldn't take Death Wish that seriously because it's mostly just like, you know, exploitation type stuff. Like if you go back and watch the original, it is tough to watch. Like, you know, that scene where Jeff Goldblum rapes is it his wife or his daughter? I feel so bad for not knowing that. I think it's like his wife or something. Like, what? There's a really uncomfortable rape scene in there, and then it's mostly just, you know, yeah, it's like, well, that's the weird thing about that is that, you know, it comes off as like jokey, but it's directed by Eli Roth, who for those who don't know, yeah, Eli Roth has done stuff like, you know, The Green Inferno and Cabin Fever and Hostel, so a lot of that gore porn. So it makes me wonder, like, is he gonna like he's gonna have like some more like violent scenes in there? He's gonna amp up the gore. He's gonna make it the rape scene longer.
Engage.
And, you know, he might. I don't know. Either that, or we're gonna see an entirely new side of Eli Roth, which could be interesting. If Eli Roth is more to him than just, you know, torture porn, then hey, why not? Give it a shot. What do we need? Counselor, do list. I'll get a Klingon. It is so strange.
We will destroy them.
I do not know how I do not feel right about Death Wish. I mean, it's a low bar to cross. I mean, like, the Death Wish has never been a great series. Now, if it's like Death Wish 3, then it's completely justified in being goofy. Because Death Wish 3 is so much fun.
We will destroy them.
Eli Roth should restart canon. Oh no. Well, what would we do with canon? Would we try to find Chuck Norris more movies? Later, Justin. Yeah, I think you'll enjoy Dark Tower. I know, at least for me, I did. I found it kind of cool. I'm trying to think, what should they do with the canon films? Actually, hold on, let me check something. Where did I have that? Where did I put the canon film? Huh. I think I lost it. Yeah, I used to have a... I was trying to find my best of canon collection, trying to figure out which films we could bring back. We'll inspire the Klingons.
Engage.
Why not? Yeah, I'm trying to think what we could do. Or you know what there should be? Since we're doing the whole, like, expanded universe shit. There should be a canon universe in which Death Wish can exist in the same world as oh no, where like Charles Bronson characters can exist in the same world as Chuck Norris characters. So we should have like a crossover. There should be a crossover between like Death Wish and Invasion USA. And Masters of the Universe, of course. Wouldn't that be something, though? Chuck Norris and Charles Bronson teaming up to fight commies in the streets. Be interesting to see a new Masters of the Universe movie. And I wouldn't be opposed to them making it more serious if they wanted to. There was that Masters of the Universe cartoon back from 2003-ish. It's actually pretty damn good. I mean, it took itself seriously and tried to make a real war picture. Well, I mean, kind of more true fantasy war where, like, you kind of buy it as more badass than silly. It actually kind of worked. Oh, Richard Chamberlain. What is that? Is it? I get all this cool tech, and then what? I get like a popcorn bag here. What did I get here? The field rations. What a great item to be equipped with. So let's see if we can upgrade crew here. Ah, finally found it. I was looking behind me for my Canon Films box set, which is the greatest thing ever, that there actually is a Canon Films box set. I'm trying to think what else we have. Oh, you know, they should do. They should bring in Cobra. I completely forgot about Cobra. Oh my goodness, the Stallone movies we could have. Do a team up between Cobra and Charles Bronson and Invasion USA. I know they're old as hell now, and you know it's probably too old to do an Expendables type deal, but yeah, you could do a comic book. You know. Hopefully I have enough of these crystal things or whatever to do this. Doctor. Borg.
Engage.
Should we do more to the Doctor? Take a chance and you crush her. Hate your son, though. Hate your son. That's too mean. Cobra is a misunderstood classic. Is it? Is it misunderstood? I don't know. I always kind of felt like Cobra is just kind of more like a cultish hit. God damn you. I I've never heard anyone like slam Cobra before. I know it's you know, from like critics at the time, it probably got slammed. But I love it, that shootout in the grocery store. Mwah. Although, actually, oh, no, I just thought of it. There needs to be a crossover between Over the Top and Bloodsport. Sylvester Stallone, Jean-Claude Van Damme, in which we combine the sports somehow of bloody fighting and what's the term for it? Like hand wrestling, is it called? You slam the other hand down. We can give it like convoluted rules, kind of like rollerball. I actually tried to figure that out at one point. Like, I still do not understand rollerball. Arm wrestling, yeah. That is an amazing movie. Stallone trying to give a heartwarming father speech. I like you, but you're a spoiled brat. You need to fight your own battles. It sounds more Ralph Bakshi than Stallone. Sorry about that. Can I improve anyone?
I always get an A.
I hate that. Let's try to make Let's try to like make Wesley even more annoying. Understood.
Ready, sir?
We gotta buy something with this stuff. Oh my goodness. Where are we going here? Yeah, I would love to see a remake of Over the Top. Because just to see how they would approach this. Because it's the silliest concept for a film. Or was, I'm probably thinking of a wrong film here, but I think there was a Hulk Hogan film called, it was like No Holds Barred or something like that. I remember it was just as bad as, it's very much on the level of Over the Top. And I really dug that film. Then again, I dug any Hulk Hogan film just because they're all so lovingly ridiculous. Yeah, I think Cobra is a bit of a cult hit more than it is like misunderstood now. I mean, how could you hate that film? No, it's not a good film. It's not like, well, you know, depends on what you define as a good film. I would say if it's fun enough, you know, then it really isn't like a terrible film. I think it was like Roger Ebert at one point said, you know, there is no such thing as a film that, you know, is so bad that it's good. If it's good, it's good. If you're enjoying it, then you're enjoying it, you know. But I don't know, it's Roger Ebert. He's probably full of himself anyways, who knows. Android. Let's see, survivalist.
Engage.
That will help. And someone who's resourceful. Not sure if we have enough of the traits for them all. well there. Yeah, I thought, yeah, Bridget Nielsen, she was okay in the film. I mean, yeah, there are a lot of scenes that I really, where you can sense that they're tripping up with them. But yeah, it's fun. You can find fault in it. I will not back down from the Dark Tower, though. But I'm not like, you know, again, much like Cobra, it's not a film that I'm gonna like place on like a high pedestal. But Dark Tower is fun. It's stupid fun for it. It's adorable schlock.
Aye, Captain.
Trying to think who we would need on this. Should probably get like a Romulan at some point. Yeah, we do need Crusher on here, don't we? You son of a bitch. I don't know if you'll wince a lot during the Dark Tower. I think there might be a few points where you will be bored towards the middle there. And yeah, a lot of the action scenes, it doesn't really take off, but it gets to a point where it's like you can sense that it's trying, that it has some ambition there. Just kind of like, okay, the few moments of like ridiculousness, like the fight scenes and this, the computer graphics and establishing the world, like, okay, this kind of works. But I don't know, yeah, if you go in wanting to, if you go in wanting to see the film that, you know, that it's going to be true to like the books, that it's going to address everything that you want, yeah, I can tell you right now, you are going to hate the film. You are probably going to hate it. Even though I haven't read the book, I can tell that a lot of people are going to be dismayed by it. These away missions.
Make it so.
I always get an A.
All right. Just knowing the world of Dark Tower and also movies, they made all the right decisions in marketing the trailer. That's interesting, because I went into it very cold. I mean, going to a lot of these pre-screenings, you know, I get the luxury of, like, coming into these films, like, not seeing previews. Like, the screenings we go to, like, they generally don't have previews very much. Yeah, and you will get to see Idris Elba shoot a lot of people. Even though he... Even though he's kind of shooting like Wanted style by having bullets ricochet off everything. But it's cool to just see Idris Elba shoot people. And see Matthew McConaughey catch bullets and fling glass and concrete at him with his mind. It's kind of fun if you go look at it like that. Try some of these smaller missions here.
I'll try not to disappoint you.
Wait so long there. Yeah, and I think that's how people are going to look back on the Dark Tower, is, you know, kind of like the way we look back on 80s films. It's going to be like, dude, you got to see this film. Idris Elba plays a cowboy who's shooting at people with a gun made from Excalibur that's ricocheting off everything, and he's gotta stop a sorcerer played by Matthew McConaughey who has to destroy a tower, and the only way he can do it is by harvesting the screams of children. And one kid has to stop him, and he has like the shining power. It's like, if you describe the film like that, it's like, oh, this sounds too good to be true. It's not as bad as, it's not as ridiculous as Wanted. I just, the whole like bullet curving thing made me think of that, just because there's a lot of bullet ricocheting there, especially in the the final scene, which is entirely reliant on him ricocheting bullets to kill the villain, and then the one perfectly placed bullet that somehow blows up a magical citadel in like a huge explosion. Oh man, I was smiling by the end just for its audacity. Yeah, if you go in kind of like I said in my review, if you go in expecting a B movie, it's pretty fun towards the end. Not a whole lot of fun, but just thinking like, oh man, they had the guts to go here and to do this without thinking like, oh man, this would look silly. It's like, no, it does look silly, but they went for it. It's cute. It's very cute. Three, two. Don't fail me, Wesley. Don't you fail me. There we go. Yeah. Hopefully it's... I know that I'm sure there'll be some people who will come around and say like, yeah, the Dark Tower is actually pretty fun. Like I found that Tim Lammers, who does reviews over like Care 11, actually kind of liked it. There are a few fans who kind of dug it, but I know I'm still alone on the Book of Henry. I know that I will not even try to convince people that that's a fun movie. I know I'm completely alone on that. It's weird that you have to let go of what you like about a lot of these properties to enjoy them, like The Dark Tower or Ghost in the Shell or Death Note. Yeah, it's tough, but at the same time, it's like, well, you want the film to succeed on its own and not be reliant on like other parts of the property for it to succeed. And it's kind of a weird balancing act of like, you know, appeasing the fans and, you know, appeasing people who are coming in cold. And it's not easy, you know.
Aye, Captain.
Well, it's an adaptation, but I mean, you know, adaptations also take their liberties too, because you also want the film to be its own thing and try to have its own style. And because like a lot of films that are based on books that try to change the source material end up being more memorable. You know, stuff like Starship Troopers, just because, you know, Verhoeven hated the material. One film that's very divergent is Everything You Wanted to Know About Sex But Were Afraid to Ask. Is probably a book that was not really intended as a comedy, but Woody Allen did it. Yeah, like a lot of adaptations will, well, they'll take what they want at the same time, but you know, most, you know, I just look at, you know, the book is the book and the movie's the movie, you know. Oh yes. Yeah, you can't get it out of your mind now. Yeah, Burt Reynolds is there. Are you serious? Okay, good. I can start a few while I'm waiting. Oh, I gotta wait for the other shuttle? Oh no, wait, that's for the next one. Alright, Crusher, you're up. get Melora on that. And do we want to do Hugh? I think Sulu's got to go up to bat.
Aye, sir.
Hell yeah. I hope they put more audio clips in here from the series and movies, because I want to hear all their voices on here. Because it's clear, like, they're just, like, lifting stuff from all, like, the TV series and stuff. To the best of my knowledge, I think only, oh, why am I blanking on his name? Q is the only one who does original dialogue for this game. But yeah, they should be divergent, because if you make a film that's just, you know, 100% accurate to the source material, it ends up being boring, you know? Like what Gus Van Sant did with Psycho, which was, you know, kind of dismissive more just because he flat out said it's a film experiment, you know? Can we do a shot-for-shot version of Psycho as a remake? And, you know, can we make it work? And it didn't really work. So,
I always get an A.
lesson learned. You're running out of people here.
Fascinating.
There we go. I have no shuttles. Still gotta buy stuff. It's a bad experiment, but I'm glad that he admitted it was an experiment, rather than just saying like, oh, I want it to be as true to the source material as possible. It exists because it is, from what I've heard from Van Sant, I've listened to a few interviews with him, but yeah, it was an experiment in remakes, more or less. And it's like, yeah, it proves the point. It's like, yeah, you shouldn't make a film exactly as it was before as a remake. Because, yeah, I mean, you will get people who will come out and say, that, you know, oh, it wasn't true to the material, you know, they mess with the timeline. Or, like, you know, they mess with the original, they change this, they change that. It's like, yeah, well, that's unfortunately what you gotta do. You want to give them more, because otherwise, like, you could make like a decent film, but it still wouldn't really improve anything. Like what they did with the remake of The Producers. It's like, it's more or less the same thing, but with a different cast, and some of it works, but, you know, it's more or less the same film. Well, yeah, Point Break was one of those things where, you know, you focus on, like, the wrong thing to remake it with something like Point Break. Like, you could tell they were putting a lot of effort into the stunts. Like, they wanted to have, like, really cool stunts and action scenes, but didn't do the work to make you give a crap about the characters, or really know them all that well. Catherine Bigelow loves that. They did with her film. Hollywood art pieces. We don't have any shuttles, do we? Crap. Oh my goodness, how much longer we got here? 5 minutes. Good gravy. I'm trying to think of other, like, films that they did with remakes that wanted to be as faithful as possible, because, like, that's like the you know, like, the pendulum swinging there, saying, like, oh, you changed so much of the film. It's like, well, if you change nothing, then you haven't really made a film, you just made someone else's film. Look at what's coming up here in the next few weeks here. Because So I'm trying to find stuff that isn't remakes at this point. I haven't actually seen... If we're talking about like the 90s version of Diabolique, I have not seen that in quite some time. Unless you're talking about Danger Diabolique. Deep, deep, love that film. Trying to think what else was coming out next week. I'm trying to find stuff that isn't like remakes, because like my wife was telling me, it's like, oh, I don't like movies now. They're all remakes. They're all rehashing. There's nothing out there. It's like, no, there's good stuff here and there. It wasn't last weekend with the Emoji Movie, but there's something. Let's see. Next week we have Annabelle 2, The Glass Castle, and The Nutjob 2. Okay, so nothing good. The Glass Castle might be okay, but I don't think I'm seeing that one. I think I have Wind River coming up, which is supposed to be coming out in like limited release for next week, but looking forward to like small. I always try to look for smaller films and try to give them more light, because like a lot of people I've been talking to have been saying like, oh, you know, movies are dead right now. You know, there's just nothing but rehashing and junk and the same old crap over and over. It's like there's no originality. It's like, no, there is. You have to go looking. Don't give up hope. Go to the Uptown Theater. The smaller films are out there and they're better. Especially like well, some of like the IFC films this year have been actually not great, but fairly decent. Like I keep recommending well, a few people have been recommending that film, The Little Hours, which is a medieval comedy with nuns and lords and castles and kind of like a high school cliquish type comedy. And it's got a great cast. You can get down on comic book movies, but at least a lot of content from the 60s and 70s is being translated to film for the first time. That's true. I remember like Kevin Smith was saying that, you know, for as much as he didn't like Batman vs. Superman, we still got a film that has Batman and Superman and Parademons and Flash and Cyborg and Aquaman and all these different superheroes we never thought we'd see. So yeah, and I kind of agree with Smith's statement that, you know, if someone asked him like, oh, are we getting too many of these comic book movies? You know, are there too much? He's like, no, there's not enough. There's a lot of material to cover. But I guess that's my only problem with these comic book movies, is that I want them to go find more material to grab, and it just seems like they're just kind of mostly just doing like sequels to their stuff that's already established. Like honestly, if they're really daring, I would love to see, just because I have no idea how it would work or who would be put in charge of it, but I would love to see a Crisis on Infinite Earths movie. I know that's like the tallest order, and I know it would probably turn out like crap, but there's a part of me that just wants to see that up on screen. To just see like the Anti-Monitor and worlds smashing together and all these heroes fighting together. Yeah, The Little Hours is... The more I think about that film, the more I love it. At first I thought like, oh, I was kind of snickering and giggling, and yeah, I really appreciate it more as a comedy now. I gotta watch it again. It's been I think I watched it like 2 months ago. Crisis could totally work. It could, or, well, here's the thing, it would either go big or go home. Which at this point, I think comic book movies need to do that. I think they're getting way too safe. Especially with Guardians of the Galaxy 2. That film felt like it was on autopilot. And again, like, it depends, like, how they build up the other DC films, which I hope they work. I so hope. Like, money's not a problem for these films, obviously. You know, Suicide Squad was crap. Batman vs. Superman was crap. But they still made money. They made a ton of money. And Wonder Woman's doing well too. So the DC films are not in trouble of, like, money. They got plenty of money to market these films as much as they like. So now it's just up to their creatives to make sure they're daring enough. And, you know, like, it's troubling to hear news in the Batman film, but, like, I'm more interested in, like, the Flash or Aquaman film at this point, just because, I mean, we have our Batman film. We have tons of Batman films, and it's not to say, like, I wouldn't go see another Batman film, but it's kind of like, there's so much more material here, you guys, you know? You can explore more than just going back to the same well. They're supposedly introducing Flashpoint in the DC universe, which means we have an opening to reboot / recast at will. Like, here's the thing, I hope that's correct. Like, they say the title is Flashpoint, and they could just, you know, just have it be a random title, and it's just, you know, Flash stopping Captain Boomerang or something like that. But if it really is Flashpoint, like, oh man, that is, like, don't do this to me, Warner Brothers. Actually make, like, a Flashpoint event film. Because if they do, I would have tremendous respect for them. And more faith. Well, yeah, let's see. I've never had faith in Affleck, nothing against him, but are you balancing everything on the town or Argo? Well, that's the thing, too, is, like, if you looked at him in Live by Night, in which he both, like, produced, directed, starred in, he kind of lost it with that film. You know, he's not a machine. Because, yeah, the town and Argo, I think, are very good films. But I think, you know, it's one of those, like, successes that I don't think he can keep repeating. I don't think he's, like, you know, the multi-versatile director actor that he thinks he is. I think if he chooses one, he can do it really well. Like, if he was just directing, I think he'd do perfect. If he was just acting, he'd be fine. But I think he proved in Live by Night that he can't do all three. Like, of producing, directing, and acting. Because he looks so tired in Live by Night. It looked like he couldn't act at all. Like, he was just, like, worried about the next scene or something. Like, he didn't have any emotion. It was just sad. Who do we have left here? Yeah, why not?
We will destroy them.
Whoops. Yeah, he's an okay actor, or maybe director, but he's not Orson Welles. No. I don't think anyone thought he was Orson Welles. Who told you he was Orson Welles? I think because, yeah, they're hinging everything on the Batman film, which I haven't caught up with the news, but I think I last heard that Matt Reeves was going to be brought on to direct it, the guy who's done the Apes films, which that could actually really work out. I mean, he's made one of the best trilogies of 2010s, so why not Batman? No, but well, no. First off, nobody's Orson Welles, but you know, if you choose a director who has a bit of a hot streak going, you know, give him a shot. Hell, Denis Villeneuve, I think, is right now one of the best directors out there. He has great ideas. He hasn't turned in a bad film yet, and I want him to do every sci-fi film right now. And right now he's doing the big ones, the ones that, you know, you could hand over to another director and they'd mess it up. But I'm glad that he's taking the reins, saying like, no, you guys can't do Bladerunner. Step aside, watch the master. And he's gonna step onto Dune, and Dune's a huge challenge. I'm like, ooh, you really want to step into doing Dune? You know the big hornet's nest you're walking into with this, right? But it'll be a challenge, which will be interesting. I like that Denis is taking the risk, because he's already proven he's a great director with a whole bunch of different genres. So challenge himself further. Oh, he's better than what they've got of Zack Snyder. Yeah, Zack Snyder is like a director who, bless his heart, he wants to make big, ambitious films, but I don't think he's there. He can work best when he's making very simple action pictures, but the problem is he wants to go for films with heavier themes. Ugh, I don't want to buy stuff. Let's see. Yeah, because like when he did Batman vs. Superman, he was dealing with so much different material that's so good that it's just depressing watching him fail at this big stuff. It's like no, sweetie, you're not that great a director. You can't handle this stuff. Stick to doing action. You're usually pretty good at that stuff. It's like when he did Watchmen. It's like you don't really understand this material here. You're focusing on the wrong stuff here. Denis's films aren't bad, but Dune, Blade Runner, is he just the guy that plucks after other great filmmakers? I think he's trying to just take advantage of films that would otherwise be handled by, a filmmaker who wouldn't have really any ideas, and just trying to, I think he's trying to challenge himself. Because, he's done very exceptional original films. And I get the feeling that if he does really well with these sci-fi films, he could basically do anything he wants. He could pull like Christopher Nolan. He could do really well with Blade Runner, and he could get to do something like Inception, like a script that he's been working on for years. So it could be great. These are essentially... Because, essentially these are going to be more or less springboards for him. What is Snyder's thing with trying to make everything so weighty? Just make a popcorn thing. He should. I think he feels like he's got to make his films deeper. Like he wants to be that sort of more dramatic filmmaker, which yeah, he's clearly not. He bless him for trying, but that's not his thing. Know what you're good at. Because from what I heard from the producers when he was working on Batman vs. Superman, he just went nuts. He's just saying oh, I want to do this, I want to do this. And it's like someone should have told him no, Zach, pick one thing. Pick one thing and do it really well. Don't burden yourself by doing to put in themes of God and vigilantism and don't load it up with stuff with the Doomsday arc and Lex Luthor and stuff like that. Pick one thing. Do Batman vs. Superman right, Yeah, he does work best with comic book films. Enemy would have been worse without Villeneuve. Do you think the Nolan track, aka a cerebral blockbuster classic, is within Villeneuve's reach? It could. It's tricky to say, because Arrival did alright. When he did Arrival last year, it made enough money. It cracked 100 million, which is good, because it's not great, but it's good for him. It proves to him that he can make films that are noticed. He's proven that they're award worthy. Stuff like Sicario and Arrival, they both got nominated for awards, but But yeah, it depends. It remains to be seen. That's why I'm very curious about Blade Runner, to see how it does.
Vulcans never bluff.
And 2 there. And I hope it is, because Villeneuve is such a damn good director. And just, it pains me, like, because the one thing that worries me, though, about that is Arrival. It made a decent amount of money, but a lot of viewers just didn't get it. They thought it was too confusing for them for being non-linear and dealing with time and trying to translate language and the emotional gripping of like the character to understand their own life and, you know, how this non-linear story, or this story plays out. It was kind of depressing because after I left the screening, I was just, you know, I had such an amazing time watching that film, and then it came out. There was this rather squat, large woman who came out of there saying like, well, that was garbage. And this was the same woman who I knew went to the Independence Day screening, and I was just like, oh, that was the best thing ever. He's great visually, but I'm still waiting for him to really embrace story. Yeah, hopefully he can do it with Blade Runner, because he could fall into that trap with making Blade Runner more about the atmosphere more than anything. And that's a little troubling if he's just going to make it look pretty and establish mood and everything. He needs to do a little more than that. So yeah, I'm hoping he can pull off more, but he hasn't disappointed me since, so I'm like, oh, alright. Show me what you got, Denise. Let's try to upgrade here. There we go. So yeah, I'm hopeful.
Aye, Captain.
Oh, hi, Worf. Denise the Menace. That kid's a pain in the ass.
Make it so.
Making these sci-fi films. Films that deal with emotion, replicants. Oh my goodness. Can I get one more mission in here? Oh, Crusher. Forgot about her. We've got to train Crusher up. Get up there, Crusher. Alright. Let's not even do Jared Leto. Who would? Sorry, that's a cheap joke. Let's see if we can get this one mission going.
Make it so.
Ooh.
Engage.
Man, the text is just all over the place for this application. Let's see. Do we need a doctor? No, we don't need a doctor. Yes, I will keep an eye on Sulu, and I'll try not to get the dilithium. I think is like the cash payout, and it's like where you gotta play cash, gotta pay cash for this stuff. So I won't do that. But yeah, thanks for watching, man. I think I'm gonna sign out though after this. Still, I've been going way long on this. Let's see. Hopefully we got what we need. Oh, shoot. We don't. Let's retreat out of there. Alright. Well, if anyone's watching out there, thank you for watching. We talked about quite a bit. We talked about the latest movies, and talk about Detroit that much. I'll probably talk about that more next week. I talked about the Dark Tower, and I'll probably be the only one defending that. What else did we talk about? We talked about a couple different directors. Talked about comic book movies. We talked about how mostly the Dark Tower. Thanks for watching, and we'll try to do this again sometime. I actually joined this game even though the paywall comes up a few times, so thank you for watching.